In N.T. Wright's commentary on Revelation, he begins his look at chapter 17 in an unconventional manner, stating they are brought in vans. They are brought in cars with blackened windows. They are brought across the sea, either captured by force or lured with the promise of a better life. They arrive in countries of the West, knowing no one except their captors, possessing nothing except what little they are given. They are beaten, threatened, and raped. When they are sent out onto the streets, they are the new slaves, frightened, shocked, horribly abused. Their physical bruises only a pale indication of the mental and emotional bruising building up inside. His point is to highlight the horrible and heartbreaking plight of women engaged in prostitution in the Western world. Wright goes on to comment that just as the majority of those being prostituted today are powerless and they are not of their own choosing, so it was in the ancient world. In light of this reality, the depiction of Babylon as a prostitute can sound to many modern ears as insensitive, tone deaf, and perhaps even sexist. Prostitutes are most often victims, exploited for the profits of men by serving the pleasures of men. And we're told of one in a book whose authors are exclusively men. Isn't that problematic? One may wonder, why is the metaphor of a prostitute employed in the latter chapters of Revelation at all if they're so rarely in the position of their own volition, but because of another, or out of plain destitution and need for survival? Well, that was the plight for the majority. There were, as there are today, those involved in prostitution who are sadly there by choice, who have beaten the tragic odds and somehow, some way do accrue profit and power and even some degree of status by their actions. As we'll spend a good deal of time with this metaphor, it's important to recognize this is the latter instance, not the former, that John draws on in Revelation 17 when he describes Babylon as a prostitute. Chapter 17, verses 1 and 2 state, "One of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came and said to me, 'Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute who sits by many waters. With her the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries.'" First of all, we don't find out this woman is Babylon until verse 5. But even here, the reference to sitting by many waters seems like a clear nod to Babylon based on the connection to Jeremiah 51. Now, as for the prostitute herself, it's important to remember that this vision isn't drawing on the metaphor arbitrarily. Babylon is described as a prostitute in stark contrast to another city. Revelation 21:2, John states, "I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband." Thus, we've got not just one, but two metaphoric portrayals of cities, both described as women, one known for her purity and faithfulness, another for her promiscuity and infidelities. And one might also connect the allusion back to the Old Testament and the description of Israel as the bride of the Lord, but demonstrates itself to be an unfaithful spouse. An unfaithfulness in chasing foreign idols that is famously portrayed in the prophetic actions of Hosea, whose wife left him in pursuit of other men. Now, the point seems on one level to depict Babylon as an unfaithful idol worshiper. She is seductive, intoxicating, and enticing. Too tempting for the kings of the earth whom she leads away, but also dangerous to Christians who may be captivated by her promises for power, prosperity, and influence. The point for the faithful readers of Revelation, including us, is to be cautious. Without intending, we could one day wake up as Babylonians ourselves. Have a great week.